And now I'm going to introduce my next guest, who is Trevor Stubbs. So thank you for being here, Trevor. I think you're here anyway. Yeah, hi, Trevor, you're here. Good. I wasn't sure. But yeah, this is Trevor, and Trevor writes books as well, and he speaks as well, and it's lovely to have him here. This is his latest book, Adventure with God, and I recommend it. What it is it's a sort of Bible study in an engaging way about having an adventure with God, particularly for people who are perhaps just starting on their adventure. So if you know anybody like that, do perhaps get that book, and all proceeds from it go to charity. But Trevor, thank you for being here. And I have to tell you all, Trevor has lots of gifts. As you can see, writing books, speaking, he's very talented. But he does have a particular talent that maybe not many people know, but I'm going to tell you it tonight. About 3 years ago, I was leading a writing workshop, and Trevor came along, and I decided at the workshop to assign people different characters, to write as different characters, and I decided to base them all on Peppa Pig, you know, the cartoon Peppa Pig, which I did. And I thought, well, before I actually pick on someone to be Peppa Pig, I'll just see if there's any volunteers. So I stood there and I looked around the room and I said, would anyone like to volunteer to be Peppa Pig? And I didn't even finish before Trevor's hand was up. He volunteered to be Peppa Pig. Afterwards, he told me I could not tell his grandchildren. So hopefully his grandchildren aren't here tonight. But Trevor is a very good Peppa Pig among his other gifts. But thank you for being here, Trevor, and over to you.
Oh, thank you, Emily. And when she signed her book, just Still Emily, for me, she signed it to Pepper. And so I'm afraid that I'm going to have to live with that one. And you make me laugh. Emily makes me laugh. She makes me cry. But I'm always safe and on solid ground. It's great to be asked to talk about this book because it's fresh, it's real, and it's solid. I'm a sort of cerebral person, really. I don't go much for the heart stuff. I don't go for the devotional literature for the most part. I've heard it all before. Sometimes it's predictable. It's sometimes a bit sweet for me, or a bit pious. The right words may be, but they don't take me anywhere. But this isn't so with the 30 Days books, with 30 Days with Ruth. You don't learn about the author. You don't learn about the author's struggles, her experiences. You don't know where she comes from. You don't know her preferences, her denomination. You don't know anything about her from reading the books. It's Ruth's story. It's God's story. With Ruth as a starting point in this book, you come straight to God. You travel around the Bible. Dance if you like. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good way of doing it, saying it. Seemingly unconnected passages. They come in. We take tangents in all sorts of directions and make interesting parallels. And I find this really fascinating, really interesting. They pull you into different things. You can't predict which way it's going to go. You think, okay, I've got this. I know what's coming, and then it doesn't go that way at all. And you find yourself really getting deeper into this and making connections that perhaps you'd never made before. They're not predictable. And that's what I like about it. I recommend you don't move on too quickly. Don't do it in 30 days. Spend 2 or 3 days over each bit. Take a bit at a time. I thought about chapter 13, which was the first quote that Emily gave us today. I think the bit you read for me was chapter 12, and that was about Adam and Eve comes into that as well, which I thought was quite interesting. But in chapter 13, you start with Boaz inviting Ruth to stay in his field. And then quickly we're on to Acts chapter 9 with Paul meeting Jesus and changing and becoming different. And so we get a question, what does God want to change you to do? How's God going to change you? And then Paul is in a mess because nobody will accept him because of what he's done before. And so we meet Barnabas, and Barnabas intercedes for him as a son of encouragement. And we've heard that as well. He took time to know Paul. And so then the question is, do we take time to know people? So we've got so many different topics coming into this one chapter, one day. And then Ruth is invited to stay in the field, and then we're asked, do we want to stay? Do we want to stay with God, or do we want to roam about? And then we're into Joshua and chosen people, and are we going to accept being chosen to stay? And I'm always surprised at the end of each chapter what Ruth's reminder is. We've gone through so many different topics in that little bit with so few words. And he says, stay with God. She says, stay with God. And then after that, the end of every one of these chapters is your response. And it just makes me think so much. I mean, we get in that chapter 2 Corinthians, Acts, Ecclesiastes, 1 Peter, Joshua, Psalms 27 and Psalm 16. Just so much in such a short space of time. And so you've got to chew over it, make sure you don't rush it. It's perfect for the newcomer. I mean, what Emily said about Adventures with God being for someone new, coming new to Christianity, this would be great for that too. It helps you, helps the newcomer. You don't feel you have to know so much before you get into it. You don't have to be an expert at Christianity. But if you have been a Christian a long time, you get so many fresh insights. It's for the old hands as well. So to sum it up, I think that in the last day, the last chapter, day 30, God says, don't ask me to leave because I won't. And I think that is what you take from it. You're on solid ground. And thank you, Emily. Thank you for what you've done for all of us and how you've encouraged us in what you say about God. If you want to know about Emily, then read Still Emily. I mean, then you will know her story. And that is just so wonderful and so encouraging. And in my little book, or Adventures with God, I base one of my little chapters on the rainbows she talks about in her story. And I'm very grateful to you, Emily, for allowing me to use that those quotations and that piece, because I think it speaks so much to us. There is so much hope, there is so much joy, and this is just so real. And thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you very much. Actually, I should say thank you, Peppa Pig, shouldn't I? But thank you.